Hey everybody! Oh my goodness. My camera stand has been doing this lately. It just doesn't seem to want to stay steadied, but I think we have it, and I don't know why I feel as if I'm in shadow. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. I'm Lynnea, so welcome to everybody as you come in. I am going to, as always, pull up this live video on my computer. Oh my goodness, again, it feels as if I am fuzzy. So last time this fix worked. Oh goodness gracious, now I have somehow switched the camera. Oh no, oh no. Oh man, you're looking at my ceiling. There we go, hold on, wait. There we go, okay. Okay, so sorry. Give this a second to try and see if it'll fix the quality, because we had power go out yesterday, and so I reset my router, and we're gonna see if reconnecting to my Wi-Fi is going to fix the quality, because it did this a couple weeks ago, and that's what my husband did for me real quick, was reset the router, and things went better. So that's going to take just a minute. I think we might be better. Oh my goodness. Are we better? Maybe. Oh man. Well, either way, as this kind of starts to fix itself and correct itself, I'm Lynnea. Welcome to this live for Trinity Stamps. There's a brand new release. The Autumn Splendor release just hit the shop this morning. So I'm going to be playing with a bunch of new items from the release, and we're going to create this pretty shaker card. See all those little stars moving around in there? So we're going to be creating with the new Moonlit Town die, and that's going to give us this gorgeous front piece here. So here's the die. Absolutely super fun die. It's going to only cut out this top portion and then some of the windows here. You'll see as we get started. And this is going to pair just perfectly with the new Nightscapes Scene Builder stamp set. This is a 4x8 stamp set. And you can see here that there are multiple different types of scenes you can create. So there's fireworks if you want to go 4th of July, the witch and the ghost for spooky Halloween like we're going to do today. There's Santa and his sleigh, so you can have Santa flying across the town. And then there's, of course, like, look at this little fairy, and she can be sprinkling her little fairy dust all over the town. This is really a fun stamp set, and it goes just perfectly with this new Moonlit Town die. Since we are nearing the fall and Halloween season, I decided to go Halloween, but I love having these products that can be used to create multiple things. So let's go ahead and jump right into the card. Let's see if I set this right up here, that way we can have that as a visual reference through the video. I'm going to start with this Moonlit Town die, and I have a piece of black cardstock that I have already cut down. This is just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, but you can cut this to be, any size that you want. You can even use this die on a slimline card, on a 5x7 card, anything. I'm going to go ahead and just line this up. I want this kind of near the top of my card. And I'm going to use my T-square ruler to make sure that I get this as straight as I can. So let's go ahead and just line this up. I'm going to hold that die. Oh, and I think I got it pretty straight to begin with. I'll use some tape to hold this die in place. And then I'm just going to run this right through my die cutting machine. Use whatever die cutting machine you have. Follow your sandwich for wafer thin dies. Crank that through, and this die is going to cut out the perfect little scene. Now, I chose black cardstock for this front piece because we're going spooky Halloween, but if you want to go like Christmassy, you could cut this from, blue cardstock, glitter cardstock, even pattern paper, anything. I'm going to pop out all these windows. Look at this. Isn't this so pretty? We're using this today as a backer for a shaker card, but you don't have to get that fancy. Again, stick it on top of some glitter cardstock and you have like a ready-made, beautiful card ready to go. I'm gonna swipe these into the garbage. And that's it. One pass through the die cutting machine and we have a really pretty foreground. Now, I'm going to create the background. So for the background, I just have a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch cardstock because we're going A2. And I'm going to grab some of my blending brushes. So I'm going to go yellow, green, and purple. I want the yellow because I want to have some yellow kind of peeking out from the little, the windows on my Moonlit town here. So I'm going in with my blending buddy and I'm just using some Distress Oxide inks. We're not doing anything fancy here, so whatever inks that you happen to have in your craft room will work for this technique. And I'm just going to add some yellow near the bottom here. And I'm just going to keep using this as a reference. That's good. Just want to make sure that I have yellow behind all of my little windows. Then I'm going to go in with some green. And we're going to put some green in the sky because why not? I know that green usually does not appear in a typical, you know, Halloween night sky, but why not? I thought. I like to have green and purple on my Halloween cards. I can't tell you why, I just do. I'm going to go back and forth to kind of blend that together, but honestly, it's going to be okay even if it doesn't blend perfectly because we're making this a shaker card, so those sequins in the back are going to distract from any mistakes that may have been made in the ink blending process. Now I'm going in with another blending buddy and purple ink, and if you know color theory, you know that purple and green do not mix, but it's going to be okay. Like I said, it'll all be okay. So I'm going to start at the top here, away from my purple, or away from my green. And then I'm just going to slowly bring that color down until it meets that green color. And then I'm just going to kind of go back and forth, blend those together. I'll bring that green color back in. I'm just going to wipe off the ink that's on my glass mat here so I don't get any extra ink on here. But I'm just going to go back and forth, and it's okay that this makes kind of like an orangey brown color. It works with the Halloween scene. I'm going to place this over the top just to see how the blending is going. And see what I mean? Like it's really not that bad, how it mixes, and it shouldn't mix, but it's truly, I think, okay. I might even grab a little bit more green and blend that up into there a little bit. And this is how I blend my backgrounds, just kind of go back and forth. I blend with a heavy hand. So I go heavy, and then as I go back and forth, I'm going lightly back and forth. Now I have a little bit of purple on my blending buddy here, so I'm going to grab my cloth and just wipe that away. And see, it's not going to affect it at all. Let's put the caps back on these guys. I love that these have the caps because I have been known to drop a blending brush or two onto my projects and, well, I don't want to say ruin because I don't think any art project is ever truly ruined, but you know, it didn't end up the way that I thought it was going to end up. So that's my background, super easy. And like I said, you can use pattern paper if you want to go behind your Moonlit town, but I thought having that easy ink blended background would be really pretty. Before I get started, when I made my sample to show, I forgot to emboss my sentiment before I put my shaker together. It turned out okay. I took a deep breath and did it after, but I'm going to remember to heat emboss my sentiment on the bottom here before we go any further. So I'm going to grab my stamping platform. And my sentiment is from another new stamp set. This one is the Pick of the Patch 4x11 stamp set. This one's a monster stamp set, and I love him. Just so cute. Love this whole line of pumpkins. Perfect for fall and Thanksgiving, but you can add these 7 little scary pumpkin faces and make these into jack-o'-lanterns for Halloween. All we're going to be doing from this stamp set is grabbing the Happy Halloween today. I love the sentiments in here because they are small and they're that perfect little script, so it's just nice to add something fancy onto your card. I'm going to use my grid because I'm having a bad eye day. I had eye surgery on both of my eyes. One eye was in last November, so it's been almost a year, and then the other one was in March. So some days are bad eye days and some days are good, and today's not so good. So the grid mat is my friend today. Alrighty, since we're heat embossing and it is 97 degrees and wet and humid outside, I'm going to put plenty of my embossing buddy on there. And then I'm just going to ink up with a watermark embossing ink. Any watermark embossing ink that you have in your stash will work. So use what you have. I'm a heavy inker, and so I always have to remind myself to press lightly with embossing ink so that the sentiment doesn't squish out. That looks pretty good. And now I'm just going to use some white embossing powder. I'll set that. Let me clean that first. Clean that off really quick, and then we'll do that quick heat embossing, and then we'll build our shaker. This card came together so quickly, but I think it turned out absolutely adorable. I'm using white embossing powder, but it would be really fun if you have like a white sparkle. That would be super cute. I'm gonna sprinkle on that white embossing powder, give that a little flick, and then I just like to check for any loose little pieces. I think I'm pretty good. I used a hefty amount of that embossing buddy, so I wouldn't get any strays. Okay, now it's time for heat embossing, and it's just gonna take a minute, but it might be loud, so prepare your ears. I always think it's magical to watch heat embossing, to watch that powder melt. Super magical. Alrighty, let's make this a shaker. I have a piece of acetate that I cut down. You really don't need it to be this large, but I cut mine down to be just under 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'm going to use some double-sided tape to adhere this panel onto the back of my Moonlit Town die cut. You can use liquid adhesive if you want to. I use liquid adhesive for many parts of my card, but when I'm adhering acetate, I like to use a strong double-sided adhesive because you're gluing onto something that's slick, and liquid adhesive is also slick. I find that I'm much too impatient to wait for liquid adhesive to dry. I'm going to go ahead and burnish those edges down so I can peel back that backer. And then we'll just put that piece of acetate. Oh, I didn't get that one. There we go. I should have used my bone folder. Usually I grab my bone folder and really press the adhesive on, and then the backer comes off much easier. But clearly I couldn't be bothered. See what I mean about impatient crafting? There we go. All those backer pieces are off. And now I'm just going to put my piece of acetate right over this panel. And I thought I had some overhang, but I think I'm okay. Alrighty, so here's our panel. Clear acetate in the back there, and that's going to be the front of the shaker card. Now, to create the actual shaker itself, I like to use some thick foam tape. I like shakers that really move. When I create a shaker and my elements don't move around, it kind of bugs me. So I'm using double thick foam tape, and I'm just going to go around all of the edges of my card. One of the keys to making shaker cards is to make sure that all the edges of your foam tape touch. You want to create, I call it a well. I think I'm going to actually cut this in half because that's going to be too wide. Anyway, I create what I call a well, and that's going to be what holds all the shaker bits in. So a well or a wall, whatever you want to call it, you want to make sure, see how foam tape is touching here at the corner, and then it's also going to come all the way up, and I'm going to ensure that my foam tape is touching up at the top here. You want to make sure that there are no spaces for your shaker bits to fall out. Now, since the top of this is curved, I'm going to go ahead and put some here because I really don't want my stars coming all the way up into the corner here. I want them to be able to be seen. So again, on this side, putting my foam tape so that it is touching edge to edge, like so. And if I cut that a little bit short like I did there, I'm just going to peel that up and push that tape up there. And then again, I'll put this piece here, and we are looking pretty good. I always like to make sure that my foam tape isn't showing on the other side. This piece is showing here just a smidge. There we go. That is better. I'm going to put another piece down here. That's going to help with stability. And also, like I said, you don't want your shaker bits to fall all the way down here so that you can't see them. I'll put my foam tape to the side. Here's another tip for when you are creating a shaker card. I like to use my powder tool. Again, this is just what you would use for heat embossing. And I go all around the edges of the foam tape, because even the edges of the tape are a little bit sticky, and anywhere that's sticky is going to grab onto your sequins or your gems, pearls, whatever you're putting inside, your shaker bits. Anything sticky is going to grab those shaker bits, and it's going to hold on for dear life. Alrighty, now I'm going to peel this off, and we're going to fill in our shaker card. I know it doesn't take long, but I feel like it's so time consuming to peel off the backer foam tape, especially when you're live. I feel like it's just awkward silence for those, 10 seconds of peeling. For my shaker pits, I have the Trinity Stamps Oh My Stars embellishment mix. I thought that these would be really pretty inside of the shaker card, especially since this is like, the moonlit town and it's a sky behind here. Thought these stars would be super fancy, and they're holographic, they're different sizes, perfect. Oh goodness, that's way too many. I didn't have enough, and then I poured way too many in. But this is like, the precarious balance of creating a shaker card. How much do you put on the inside? We might be going for a really star-filled background today. That looks good. Let's close that up before I have another accident. And then I'm just going to turn this so that it's right side up. And I'm going to take my ink blended background and seal up my shaker card. So to do that, I'm just going to start right in the corner, place that down, and then you want to make sure that you press on all four sides of that shaker well, making sure that that's really sealed up. Check that out. There's a lot of stars in there, guys, but that's okay. I don't know what's worse, an overfilled shaker card or not filled enough. Probably not filled enough. This one's definitely has a lot of stars, but you can never go wrong. I think those holographic stars are super pretty. Okay, so here's another little fix that I like to do. I didn't get this lined up quite perfectly, but nobody is going to see the back because we're going to glue this onto a card base. So I'm going to stick my scissors up underneath this black card front and just trim off any of that excess that's overhanging. I think I have a little bit on the side, but for the most part, it was just the bottom there. So there's our shaker card front. Now, like I said, we can go ahead and just put this onto a card base. Let me grab my liquid adhesive here. And just put this onto the front of a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. Now, you can create your ink blended background right on your card base. I don't, because I'm accident prone, and like you just saw, I don't always line things up quite perfectly. I also don't cut my card bases quite perfectly, as you can see here. So doing things on a separate sheet of cardstock helps me, because then I can just trim, and once again, nobody except for you, but I know you won't share my secrets. Nobody will ever know that I didn't get that perfect. Let's see, Marcy, I used the, let me find them, Oh My Stars, the Trinity Stamps Embellishment Mix. They are the Oh My Stars. They are holographic. There's a couple different sizes in there, and they're super, super pretty. I know that's not focusing really well, but super pretty. Oh My Stars. Alrighty, let's go ahead and finish up this card. I went ahead and I stamped and cut some additional pieces, and these are from that stamp set I showed you in the beginning. This is the Nightscapes Scene Builder, new from the autumn release. It's a 4 by 8 stamp set, and pairs perfectly with that Moonlit Town die for a variety of different holidays, occasions, and scenes. I went ahead and stamped my little witch in a green ink, actually the same green ink that I used in the background. My ghost I stamped in some gray ink, and then I stamped these 3, you know, like flat, I call them spooky clouds, in purple ink, the same purple ink that I used in my background, so everything's going to coordinate. And then I cut them out with the coordinating Nightscapes Scene Builder die. So you're going to be able to cut out, you know, pretty much everything. So your clouds, your Santa, your witch, your ghost, you're going to be able to cut those out with the coordinating dies. So I have them here. And all I did was just kind of lay things out and arrange these, kind of staggering these, just so that they looked, I don't want to say better, but I like to stagger. I think it looks more natural. That's the word I'm looking for. I have my fan on. Like I said, it's 97 degrees. I live in Pennsylvania, where like nobody has central air conditioning in their house, because even though it gets hot, we can usually deal with a couple weeks of really, really oppressive heat. This summer has just been hot from the get-go. We kind of skipped over spring and went right to 97. So it's 97 outside, but about 86 in my house. So the fan is on and blowing. I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive here and glue these down. Now remember, just like how I was saying when we're creating the shaker well, you're gluing onto something slick. I'm gluing onto that acetate. So you need to give that a second. In fact, I think I might even put something, an acrylic block I'm going to grab and just set that on there. That way that doesn't shift while I give that a couple seconds for the glue to grab on and adhere. I'll set this cloud over here, kind of, again, staggering them. So this one's not going to come out as far as that top cloud is. Then we'll move that one over. And again, just a little bit of liquid adhesive here. Popping this one right up here in this top left-hand corner. Here's our little ghosty. I am going to have him peeking out. Yes, Marcy, it's so humid. My parents actually just came to pick up my son for the weekend, and they couldn't open the door because my door is swollen shut from the humidity. They thought it was locked, and I'm like, nope, you just got to put your back into it. It's so humid. I'm going to tuck this guy, just lifting up this little building, tucking him right behind, so he's kind of peeking out and saying boo. Super cute. All right, done with that. I'm going to put the pin back in my glue before that dries out. And then I'm just going to trim off the overhang of these clouds. So just a snip there and a snip on this side. And already our scene is coming together, almost complete, but I do want to add that little witch on there because she is too cute. So I'm going to go ahead and pop her up. I'm always careful with foam tape because we have that dimension from the shaker already, and I used a double thick foam tape on the shaker window, so I'm not popping up too much on the front. You definitely could, but to keep this still being able to go through the mail, the only thing I'm going to pop up on the front is this little witch, and she's going to go flying right over this cloud here, flying right over the town. There we go. We can get that one out of the way. That's just the sample card. That's it, you guys. That came together so quickly. I mean, it's been a half an hour, and all that I did to prep for this card really was to stamp and die cut these little images out ahead of time. So a super quick idea for a shaker card. I'm loving this new Moonlit Town die. You can even create this shaker card even quicker than what I did by skipping the ink blending and using some pattern paper or glitter cardstock in the background, and you could create a really, really easy and simple card. So I'm just gonna pop this up here so you can see. Those are those Oh My Stars embellishments. They're gorgeous. Perfect for this. So that's it, you guys. Thank you. I want to say thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being here. The products I used on today's card are from the new Autumn Splendor release from Trinity Stamps, and they are available now in the Trinity Stamps shop. So happy shopping. This Moonlit Town sky with this Nightscape scene builder stamp set. Absolutely perfect. Cannot go wrong. Match made in heaven. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye, you guys.